right, time for us to say good afternoon and check in with Scott Reid, and our feature brought to you by, of course, the folks at Guaranteed Industries and Can Air, teaming up to make you feel nice and warm to the winter that eventually we'll be getting here. So if you want to get your system up and running and make sure it's in top condition, give them a call. 514-342-3400. Guaranteed Industries, serving Montrealers since 1957. Scott, nice to have you back. Thank you for being here today. Look forward to talking and starting today, perhaps. I'm not sure it's on our list, but I spent a lot of time talking about this with our audience today. Pierre Poilievre's announcement yesterday about amendments to the criminal code. You know, this whole idea that now reasonable force is not apparently reasonable enough. I wanted to get your take on this and what reaction that you've heard has been.
Well, look, it's the kind of thing that winds people up. You see these stories. There have been a couple here in Ontario, and people go like, my God, I got to be able to, protect my family. And, criminals appear to be more and more, not just aggressive, but bold. I'll just walk into your driveway and take things. I'll come into your home. And there's this terrible story here in the GTA about in the Greater Toronto area about a man being tied up to a chair and shot to death in front of his family. And so it's natural that it's going to draw an emotional response from people. But here's the unpleasant truth. None of what he says is going to make a damn bit of difference. I mean, the reality is that the court system already presumes, right, that you're acting in self-defense. And there is a test of reasonableness, which is that, if you defend yourself and you use deadly force, well, then you're probably going to be fine. But, if somebody comes into their house with a knife and you just shoot the guy over and over again, there is a line that can't be crossed. And so, this is not the popular thing to say, but this is all it's low-hanging fruit. It's playing to the bleachers. And it's Poilievre trying to take clear ownership of the crime file, which is a smart strategy overall. But if we're talking about whether or not this is going to make one person in Canada a bit more safe, not a damn bit.
All right, let me move on from that and talk about what's going on here. Back in Quebec, François Legault yesterday testifying at the SECLIC Commission. He is, of course, I'm trying to a long line of ministers that have already been up there. Look, this thing is a fiasco any way you basically look at it, right? The question is, how much does this hurt him? And now that he's testified, is this over? Do we move on?
Well, it will start to peter out from here on in. But the damage is done, and the damage is lasting, and the damage is foundational. Listen, this is not a happy place for me to revisit, but I worked for Paul Martin. I went through the sponsorship crisis. I went through the Gomery inquiry, right? We were trying to clean it up. But I can tell you that, when you're sitting there in the chair being watched by the entire country, the entire province, and you are offered two choices. You either knew and you're guilty, or you didn't know and you're dumb and incompetent. And people always choose dumb and incompetent. Well, that's what the Premier did yesterday. I didn't know. I should have known. It's a failure of this guy. It's a failure of that guy. Now we see that the former official who ran the whole damn sack mess. He says, well, he told the cabinet secretary. So the cabinet secretary now, what he's going to have to move on him. Obviously, we're going to see Legault try to shuffle his cabinet to try to turn the page. But again, I go back to 2003, 2004, 2005, those years that I lived through, the Gomery inquiry, right? When you're doing commissions, when you're going through this stuff, it got the whiff of fin de regime about it. You know what I mean? It's just like, man, you're staggering toward the finish line and everyone is running past you. And Legault is done.
That seems to be the consensus, right? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when we get that announcement, he's talking about a cabinet shuffle. There's a possible proroguing here of the National Assembly. All this kind of seems kind of familiar given what's happened, of course, historically. Well, I mean, what are we now? Justin Trudeau, we're still in 2025. Sometimes it seems hard to believe. I think we're at least a year later. In terms of how long does a cabinet shuffle make a difference? Are you expecting this to happen before next October? I mean, how much before next October?
I know this is a cruel thing to say, but the cabinet shuffle probably has the most lasting impact of it has likely to do with the future of Quebec politics, the future of CAQ, who gets put in a prime position. The two ministers that touch this file, they're dead. He probably won't sack them completely because, what are you going to do? You're not going to force by-elections that you're going to lose
Right.
in the run-up, right? But he's going to demote people. He's going to sideline people. He's going to try to create some new energy. You got a guy like Bernard Durantos wandering around the front door like a wolf, right? What will it be? It will not improve their electoral fortunes. It's not like anybody gives a damn who's in charge of consumer affairs or whatever. It just doesn't make that big a difference. But what it will do is it alters the hierarchy. It alters the pecking order. It alters those who are tainted, those who are not tainted, those who own the next year when they lose versus those who maybe aren't there. So it'll affect the future leadership stakes for CAC, whether or not CAC can survive past Legault. I think that's probably the only significant effect of a cabinet shuffle. In terms of its ability to revive the government and renew its chances of being reelected, I don't know, man. Call me bleak, but I think it's almost nil.
Let me move on and talk federal politics. So we know that Mark Carney meeting today, but before he did that, I guess he answered some questions from the press. Anything you heard today? I know, it's funny, Scott. I get the feeling now because I know yesterday we found out today that Mark Carney and Donald Trump had what was described as a lengthy conversation. And I almost feel like this is, from the movie or from Greece or somewhere where the guy says to, his friend, hey, she called me back. She really called me back. I can't believe it. It's like every time the two of them talk, it's like, wow, I'm sure something really significant came out of this. And at the end, nothing ever does.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And this is life with Donald Trump. I agree with you. I had a different take, not an opposing take, but I had an additional take. And that was, I was struck by, if this was 4 months ago, we would have learned about this. There might have been a press conference. There might have been a readout, right? Now we find out about it 2 days later, and it's kind of like an afterthought. Yeah, I talked to the president. It was a good conversation. Talked about a bunch of stuff. We're engaging and blah, blah, blah. But really what Carney is saying in as many ways as he possibly can is, don't pay much attention. Really, he's literally trying to not raise expectations because he recognizes now, the Trump roller coaster only goes down and never goes back up.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a fascinating cabinet retreat. Again, if you're like a political nerd like me, if you're somebody who's worked for a prime minister and you try to orchestrate these cabinet retreats, usually a cabinet retreat, we're going to do it in Toronto, or we're going to do it in Montreal, we're going to do it in Kelowna. Then you have a series of ministers make announcements in the morning. You meet for a few hours, but then you come out, you have a barbecue, you bring in the mayor, you do another announcement. There's zero communication happening. The Prime Minister stopped for a very short period, kind of referenced a couple of things. There's not a big, in the city of Toronto, today the housing minister, Gregor Robertson, former mayor of Vancouver, is on the front page of the Toronto Star saying the condo market is in free fall and there's a housing bubble in the largest market in the country. And his response is, he himself says that and then goes, yeah, not like he says, and therefore I'm going to do X. It's and therefore I'm doing nothing. And now, what do you hear from the government? No announcements. It's really quite interesting. I think the Prime Minister's made the calculation that it's better to just not high bridge this stuff, low bridge this stuff, because it's all political risk to create expectations for people of some kind of breakthrough. There ain't no breakthrough.
What did he say about a budget today and when it would be introduced, or did he mention the word austerity? I didn't see the story.
I don't think he put a timetable on it. The Buzz, Champagne made some comments last week that I think are being interpreted probably correctly as suggesting that it's likely in October, which is a little bit of a change. There used to be a fall statement in October. Then there would be a budget in March. Now, of course, we've been forever without a budget. So October seems a little early almost because Trudeau would always do his fall statements in December. I don't think the Carney signaled anything with respect to the calendar. The expectation now is that it'll be in October. He did talk, Carney, today about the fact, look, the government has got to knuckle down on the cost of day-to-day business, right? So the operating budget of Canada, the operating budget of the government's got to be wheeled back so that we have more money to spend on big things that will generate revenue and generate opportunity. But, those are words, man. I'm not dismissing them. Don't want to be completely cynical, but it's kind of whatever. There'll be a budget. We'll see proof will be in the pudding.
Hard not to be cynical these days. Scott Reid. Scott, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.